Hey everybody, it's me, Lisa, aka Wolf and Storm, coming at you live from my special space. Today, we are going to be discussing Doctor Who review, season 13, aka Flux, whatever the hell you want to call it, episode 5, episode 4, Village of the Angels. Well, I have to say, I went into this, and here I have, to go along with my review, I have my trusty Doctor Who mug with 10 and 10 2 in rows. um, I went into this, not a lot of expectations, other than maybe it might be a little bit better than the others because it's a Weeping Angels episode. However, that was prefaced with the fact that Chibble's already damaged everything else in the Doctor Who universe. Let's hope he doesn't damage this. I will be the first to say that the episode, I know everyone touts it as the scariest Doctor Who episode ever, blah, blah, blah. That was not my reaction to Blink. I liked the Angels. I thought that as a plot device and as a villain, they were awesome. For what they were, and keeping them simple was what made them terrifying, and made the whole story suspenseful. But I always thought that Blink was more about Sally Sparrow's story and how she reacted to what was going on in her world, and how she lost her friend, and this whole journey she went on trying to figure out what happened to her, and then she realizes this guy that she's been working with this whole time is actually someone who really cares about her. And it's, to me, it was always more of a story of how, coincidentally, by the Doctor coming into her life via these angels, it changed her whole life. And I still maintain to this day that she would have made a fabulous companion if they had ever given Carrie Mulligan a real chance. But, come see, come saw. All right, so before we get started, the usual housekeeping. Please do help me keep on keeping on by hitting me up on social media, Twitter and Patreon. The links to those will be in the description below. And also, please help me keep making these videos by hitting that like button and ringing that bell. Like, subscribe, you know what to do. First, a little bit of David Tennant news. This morning, woke up to some interesting information. David won the International Emmy Award for his performance in Daz. Yay! Go, David. There is a video of his acceptance speech. I'm going to try and find it on YouTube. I don't know if it's been posted there or not, but I will definitely attempt to find it. I know it's on Twitter. If it is on YouTube, I'll put it as a card, up there so you guys can see that. Also, a new PBS trailer dropped for Around the World in 80 Days. So there's a little more detail in the trailer about some of Phileas Fogg's adventures and everything that he goes through, and it's really shaping up to look amazingly good. I am very excited for this miniseries to come out at the first theater. Can't wait. Definitely can't wait. So I will post a link to that. I actually did find that one on YouTube, so I will post a link to that. And today of all days, as a matter of fact, happy Doctor Who Day, everybody. November 23rd. This is 58 years to the day that Doctor Who was first broadcast, November 22nd, 1963. A day that will live in infamy for two very different reasons. So happy birthday, Doctor Who. We hope you'll be feeling better soon. We miss you, and we miss you, yes, and we wish you many great returns, and many more years to come. Today, coincidentally, Big Finish also dropped the third set of stories for the Ninth Doctor Adventures, entitled Lost Warriors. I've already downloaded that on on the Big Finish app, so I have yet to have a chance to read that. I don't want to promise like I'm going to do it this week and then upload it upload a video review this weekend. This week is going to be kind of crazy because it's Thanksgiving and where I work at the grocery store. Yes, Thanksgiving is complete insanity. So after today, I have to work the next 4 straight days. So I don't know if I'm going to have the time. I will attempt to listen to it this weekend if I'm not too incredibly exhausted by Sunday. Because when Sunday comes around, it's straight into another episode of Doctor Who. So, yeah, I'm going to need to find the time. But I will definitely have it listened to in its entirety within the next couple of weeks. And then I will drop a video on that, reviewing those 3 stories. After that, I'm fairly certain to be one more set, and that will be the end of that. But we already know that it's confirmed he is coming back for a second season's worth of adventures, because this one has sold so well and has such positive reviews that we're bringing him back again to do more stories. So anything with more Christopher Eccleston in it is always great for me. Happy. Alright, so moving on to the review. I'm going to try and keep this as succinct as possible because it really just focuses on the angels, basically. So it takes us right where the last episode left off, where the angel has the phone box, blah, blah, blah. The angel has the TARDIS. And somehow the 13th Doctor manages to Deus Ex Machina the angel out of the way using TARDIS cables somehow. I don't know. This era doesn't do very well explaining things. They just kind of assume that you get it. Or maybe they just assume that you don't care because you don't have the brains. And you just like the big, bright, and shiny. Diversity. Anyway, so she does something, I think, to reboot the TARDIS or to... She keeps saying a lot of reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. She's trying to be the 3rd Doctor, and no, honey, you're not John Pertwee. Please stop. And usually the successive Doctors only said that as a joke because they thought it was funny, not because they actually really meant it. The 3rd Doctor, that was his punchline. That was his thing, and he believed there was truth to it. The other ones are like, dude, you're full of shit. you just said that to look smart. It was kind of like the 10th Doctor wearing the brainy specs, acting like he actually needed them. But no, he only wore them because they made him look cool. So when the other Doctors would see earlier versions of themselves referring to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, they're like, dude, shut up. Come on. You're just being stupid now. So her saying it, she said it quite a few times in this episode. There's a lot in this episode that was lifted straight out of other better episodes of the show in better eras. I have to say, Chivill does not disappoint when it comes to stealing shit. But that just goes to show you that he can't write an episode on his own. He has to steal better lines or better plot devices. But anyway, so we managed to get rid of the angel. With the angel already done its damage and has landed the TARDIS and the Doctor, Yaz, and Dan in a small English village in 1967. And as soon as they come out of the TARDIS, they're greeted by 2 elderly people whose granddaughter, a 10-year-old little girl named Peggy, has disappeared. And they've been searching all over town trying to find her. So Yaz immediately suspects that this might have to do with the angels. Oh, you think? And the Doctor doesn't even think twice before ditching them and going her own separate way. She leaves Yaz and Dan with the elderly couple to go look for the girl, and she just takes off somewhere else. She learns about a specific house in town that's been like a hive of activity. She gets there, and lo and behold, she meets up with Claire, the woman we saw in episode 1, who claimed to already know the Doctor, but the Doctor had not met her. If you remember in that episode, towards the end of the episode, she gets grabbed by a weeping angel, and apparently this is where she was sent back to, 1967. And ever since she's been there, she's been having visions of time and space, the TARDIS, just the outside of it. And they've been causing her headaches and all kinds of things. And this psychologist that she's been staying with that's his house. He's been doing experiments on her to test her psychic abilities and try to understand how she's having these visions. So she meets Claire, she meets this psychologist, and she tries to get them to understand that this has something to do with the weeping angels. Now, the psychologist, being a man of science, he's like, you know, he thinks she's kind of crazy at first, but when the doctor confirms that the visions she's been having are about her, he's still suspicious and not quite convinced. But I have to say, he was a very interesting character. Very. This episode was another case of the side characters basically holding up the episode because the main characters could not. Yaz and Dan were given very little to do once they were separated. They went about trying to find the girl Peggy, and it wasn't long before they got grabbed by the angels and were transported back to 1901. While they're there, they're searching the town, which has basically become a ghost town. There's nobody there, but they find in one of the cottages they find the girl Peggy. Yaz was right. I mean, that was pretty obvious though, that she was likely grabbed by one of the angels. So they are trying to talk to her to get her to tell them what happened, where everybody in the town went, how long she was there. Yaz starts practically interrogating her like she's a suspect or something. Maybe that's that cop mentality of hers, I don't know. Not that we've ever seen her in action as a police officer, so I don't know. But the girl seems to be immediately wary of her because Yaz is very direct in her face, and this girl's obviously been through trauma. She's, her family's gone, she's stuck in a town all by herself, having to fend for herself, and they come to find out some things shortly about the town that are even more scary. Dan has a little more luck getting her to open up, and that's because he's more natural in his tone, the way that he talks to her, just like he's having a normal conversation with another person. He's not treating her like she's a suspect or trying to interrogate her. He's just saying, hey, we know you're scared. We're kind of scared too. We're stuck here, so maybe you can help us out. Can you tell us, like, how long you've been here? What happened to all the people? And he's just very natural, warm tone, and I guess it's easier for her to trust him. I was liking that. It gave Dan some more layers. That was the last time he had layers in this episode, because the rest of it, he was pretty much just acting like a child, foaming off at the mouth and asking questions about 90 miles a minute. And I know you would say, well, the doctor does that too. No. The way it came off with Dan was more annoying than anything else. And that upsets me because I'm growing to like Dan, and I don't want to see him used as the butt of the joke or made to look like a moron. It's not fair. Dan can be a good character, but he needs to be written more evenly. And right now he's very up and down. Like, he'll have one episode where he's really good, the War of the Santarans, and then he'll have another one where he's, he doesn't do much of anything, and then he'll have this one where he starts off okay, and then, you can definitely tell that Chibnall does not know what to do with these companions. Doesn't know how to write them, doesn't know how to develop them, doesn't know what to do with them, and that's why he constantly pawns them off somewhere else, away from the doctor, so the doctor can do her thing, and they're just kind of stuck trying to figure out what the hell do we do now. And that's really not fair. I mean, it's hard. Why give them the title of companion if they're not there with the doctor when all the action is happening? It's just don't feel right. So they come to find out that the town, all the residents in the town disappear in 1967, the night that actually the doctors arrived there. But this is not the first time this happened. It also happened in 1901, which is where they're at now. All the residents have vanished. and they're trying to figure out, well, it's obvious that the angels had something to do with it, but they want to know why. So she takes them into the woods towards like the road that's supposed to lead out of town where the town sign is. And just as you get to the sign, it basically drops off into nothingness. Like it's like the earth just disintegrated and there's nothing but the little town. You see the blackness of space and there's a nebula and it's like nothing else exists but the little town. The rest of Earth is gone. So they quickly figure out that the town itself has been removed from time in 1901 and supposedly will be again in 1967. So they're trying to figure out how to stop the angels, why this is going on. Meanwhile, back in 1967, the doctor is trying to convince the psychologist not to have anything around that has angels in it. Claire has drawn pictures of her vision. She drew one of the TARDIS and she drew one of the angel. And as soon as the psychologist shows her the picture, she's like, and she tears it up. And she throws it what looks like on a heater or a fireplace. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but why didn't you set it on fire so that it would be disintegrated and therefore no longer a threat? That was just dumb, wasn't it? You just knew that when the doctor threw that thing on the floor and didn't torch it, that it was going to come back to bite her in the ass later. Chibnall's not good at writing subtleties at all. Like, I mean, that's what made Blink much better. Lots of the subtleties that were woven through the episode made you wonder what was going to happen next, had you on the edge of your seat. This episode was far too predictable, which saddens me because, I mean, the angels are an iconic villain in Doctor Who lore. You'd think that they deserve better. Another thing, I heard some of the other reviewers online say they felt like the look of the angels was a bit cheap. I don't disagree. The angel that was specifically attached to Claire looked really good. I liked the idea of her having a crack in her face. It was kind of symbolic of her being a rebel amongst her own group and that she was trying to run away from them. She wasn't completely whole and perfect the way that the rest of them were. I thought that resonated well with her characterization as a rebel, which is thus far been unheard of when it comes to angels. So as they're basically at this point stuck in the house, because as the doctor gets to the house and starts having this conversation with Claire and the psychologist, Dr. Jericho, the angels have followed her. Well, not necessarily her, they're following Claire. And, well, both of them, actually, as we'll come to find out soon enough. So they're trapped in the house. The doctor jiggery pokes a television set to function as sort of a closed circuit camera so they can see what's going on in the foyer where the angels are at the front door. They bolted all the doors closed, the front door, the back door, the windows, any way that the angels could get into the house. And herein lies another problem with Jodie's version of the Doctor. As soon as, well, not too long after the episode starts, when she first gets into the house and starts having a discussion with Jericho, it's immediately, I would say that was the major downfall of this particular episode. Too much tell, not enough show. That's a serious Chibnall problem. He's always telling, not showing. As soon as she started going into the whole spiel about the angels, she was just like this. Again and again and again. Shut up! Just like she was in episode 3, and just like she was in episode 2. It's like she is absolutely incapable of shutting her mouth for more than 5 seconds. I know the doctors are well known for having a gob and talking a lot and explaining things and stuff like that, but they don't do it to where she does it. Most of the time, having a gob, like I said before in past videos, it's more of a character trait. It's not it's not some incessant need to describe everything that's going on in detail, like some sort of flaw. It's a character trait. And most of the time when they're talking, they're just talking about random things. They don't tell you what's going on. They leave it up to the viewer to experience it as it's happening, which makes it far more impactful. Jodie just pretty much gives you a PowerPoint presentation every time she opens up her mouth to explain exactly what's happening in the context of the episode, and it takes all the emotional impact away from what's going on. Like, could she not have let the professor figure out for himself how dangerous the angels are instead of just this? After a while, you just like, ah!
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Unfortunately, I feel like that's something that's never really going to be addressed or fixed. All I can keep saying to myself is we have 2 episodes left and then a couple specials and she's done. Just write it out. Just write it out. Anyway, as they're trying to lock down the house, Claire starts having hallucinations, or what she thinks are hallucinations. If she's in the bathroom washing her face, she sees angel wings sprout out of her back. And I gotta say, those look really fucking cheap. Like, they literally look like somebody went to a party store and bought some cheap ass wings and, spray painted them to look like they're kind of stony looking and then just put them on her back. Yeah. That's been a problem for this episode. Some of the angels look good. Like I said, the one that was attached to her personally looked good. And the one that was speaking directly to the professor looked good. The other, because they were up close, and so I know they wanted the up close ones to look good. But the others just looked cheap. Like they look like not a lot of effort was put into how they appeared on screen, which saddens me because they are an iconic villain and they deserve their just due. There are far better episodes than this to have the Weeping Angels in. You got Blink, you got the first time the angels appeared in Matt Smith's era, that 2-parter. Yeah, definitely better than this. This is not to say that it wasn't tense. There were a lot of tense moments. And I have to agree with a lot of the reviewers online that if it had not been Jodie Whittaker in the episode, if it had been any one of the other doctors, it would have been absolutely fucking amazing. Because they know how to deal with that material, and they could make it an infinitely better episode because they know how to play the doctor properly in that environment. She doesn't. She just sits there and jacks her mouth off and just talks and talks and talks and talks to the point where you just don't want to hear her anymore. So, while they're trying to lock down the house, Claire starts having stone dust come out of her eye, and she comes to realize that she's turning into an angel, or an angel has possessed her, or something. She doesn't want to tell anybody at first because she's afraid that what they're gonna think, how they're gonna react. Now, interspersed with this episode is 2 or 3 scenes flashing forward to Belle. She has landed her Lampari ship on a desolate half-planet, I guess. Only half the planet is still left existing. And I do not understand how any human being or humanoid or any life could exist on a planet that was only half there. Because if the other half of the planet's been destroyed, that means the core is gone. Like, this is basic scientific principle. If half of your planet is just disappeared, your planet cannot exist properly. At least it cannot hold human life if the core is disintegrated. Not going to happen. The axis would be messed up. The gravity would be messed up. It's a distinct possibility that the atmosphere would not be the same as it once was, so it might not be breathable. Yeah, Chibnall I'm not saying that you have to have a lot of scientific knowledge for this show, but this is like some basic scientific shit here. He's saying that, because I distinctly remember the guy that Bell met up with, one of the survivors on the planet, said that one of the suns was missing, a couple of the moons, a lot of stars, and about half the planet. So yeah, that planet should not be functioning at all, least of which to sustain any sort of human life. So she meets up with him, and he says that there's this person that comes down to the surface every so often and promises salvation to all the survivors. He promises to take them off planet and make them safe and take them somewhere where they can have a better life. So he takes her over to where all the people are. It's a lot of people. And come to find out that the person that's been taking them off planet is Azure. And she's not taking them off planet. She's putting them into a passenger. Meaning she's turning them into prisoners. So basically it seems like what they're doing is they're going to all the planets that still are holding human life, or just any life, and removing them all and putting them into passengers. Now this guy wants to go with her. He believes her. He thinks that that's his ticket off the planet. Belle apparently somehow has run into a passenger before, knows what a passenger is, knows who Azure is, because apparently Belle knows everything. And she warns him not to go with them. And as Azure is passing her energy over the people to draw them into the passenger, she throws this guy down on the ground to avoid it. I don't know how exactly that works, because the energy field looks like it went all the way down to the ground, you know, and I don't think just them lying on the ground will keep them from being scooped up in that energy. Again, basic scientific shit. But, you know, you can't assume Chibnall, you know, knows basic scientific shit. Because he doesn't care. Anyway, she saves him, and he's pissed off at her because he wanted to get off the planet. He doesn't want to deal with her anymore. He's like, don't talk to me, don't touch me, leave me alone. And he disappears. Towards the end of the episode, Vinder finds his way onto the planet, and he asks this guy if he has seen her. This is what she asks him, if he's seen Vinder. He says no. Vinder asks him, have you seen this girl? Yes. She left him a message saying that she has a Lampari ship and that she'll keep her transponder on so he can find her, and she's just about to give him the coordinates, and then the transmission cuts off. Really, Chipman's got to stop. Him trying to steal some shit, it's just not working. Devastated better. Much better. So, okay. The issue with these couple of scenes on the alien planet, I felt like they didn't need to be there. If they had been removed from the episode entirely, it would have changed nothing. And it also took you completely out of the action of the main story. It literally stopped the plot dead. This is a persistent problem with Chibnall episodes. Pacing. You get to a really tense point in the episode having to do with the angels, and then all of a sudden you're right to Belle out of nowhere, and then the action just stops dead. Yeah. That shouldn't have been in there. Like that was completely unnecessary. They even gave them a post-credit scene, which is kind of yeah. Or not a post-credit scene, like a mid-credit scene, I guess. So again, that really stopping the action dead. And by the way, I don't know if this is a BBC problem or a broadcast studio problem, but when the end credits were playing, the volume seemed really off. Like it was a lot lower than it needed to be, and it wasn't playing as loudly as it should have been. The end credits, usually they're louder than that, but it seemed very muffled. Don't know why. I don't know if that was a BBC issue or what. But so while they're trying to keep themselves away from the angels, the elderly couple are still out in the woods looking for their granddaughter, and they come to find out, they come to where the town sign is, and they also see that there's nothing there except the blackness of space. And the grandfather, I don't know why they were playing him to be a dick, but I'm just gonna chalk that up to he's an older guy, and I've kind of experienced this before. When my grandfather got to be around that age, his personality shifted a lot. He became quite grumpy. He used to be really mellow when he was younger, and then when he got quite a bit older, into his 80s, he just he became really ornery. So I'm going to chalk it up to that. I don't want to go into, angry white guy thing. I'm going to keep focus on the episode, please. So, his wife, she knows something's up, something's not right, but he's not listening to her. Oh, it's just a statue, it's not going to hurt us, and boom, they get blinked. And they wind up in 1901, along with Yaz and Dan, and eventually Dr. Jericho, because the angels do get into the house. Not only through the doors, but that picture, remember the one that Claire drew of her vision that was in pieces on the floor? Yeah, apparently it can reform out of nowhere, and the angel can come to life. The doctor saw it. She finally gets, hey, brain's working now. Maybe I should set it on fire. She sets it on fire because the angel comes out of it and starts to attack. She sets it on fire, which sets the angel on fire. And then she destroys it completely, which destroys the angel. Okay. This is one problem I had with Moffat's continuing angel episodes, specifically Angels in Manhattan. I prefer the angels to be kept simple. They don't need a continuing list of abilities and things that they can do. That was why Blink was so good, because it was simple. You blink, and they take you, and your life is gone. And it should be focused on that. There doesn't need to be a continuing list of abilities and things that they can do. It just bogs them down and makes them more and more fantastical and less terrifying, I think. It kind of detracts from their draw. And Chibnall just keeps doing it over and over. First by making them have the ability to come out of a picture, or having the paper be able to come back together after it was ripped up, and then having the angel come out of the picture, and then giving them a voice. One of the main angels takes Jericho's voice and starts speaking like him to taunt him. Satan did it better. Saying, oh, you're just a washed up old man who hides in this house and uses your work as an excuse not to have a real life. You're lonely, blah, blah, blah. Basically just insulting him the entire time. Satan Pit did it better. That was a blatant Satan Pit knockoff. I'm sure anybody who's seen Impossible Planet and Satan Pit remembers the Beast taunting everyone, but he wasn't just insulting them for insulting's sake. He was actually picking apart pieces of who they were, deep down inside, reading their subconscious thoughts. And this information we got about Jericho just kind of came out of nowhere. We didn't know very much about him other than he was a war veteran who was at the Bergen concentration camp, which had a major effect on him. That's basically all we really knew. And then he was a brave soul. Very brave soul who wasn't about to back down to the angels or anybody else. Made him very likable. Now, if the angel had addressed the horrors he saw at Bergen and how it affected his life and changed how he saw the world and the psychological trauma that it did to him, I think it would have gone over a lot better than just blanket insulting him for insulting's sake. That's what the beast did in Satan Pit. It actually picked apart pieces of their life. It got into their minds, and because it used what Toby knew, because it had already possessed Toby. So it used what Toby knew about them, and it used that against them. Here, this angel was just foaming at the mouth with some bullshit that you can't even be certain was true. It was just a plethora of insults that don't have a lot of emotional meaning to the viewer because we don't know the character that well. There was, in the Satan Pit and in the Impossible Planet, the security officer, the one that the beast was referring to, they didn't outright say all these things about his life, about, things not working out with his wife and his relationship with his children, but there were little inferences here and there that kind of gave you an idea that there was some stuff going on in his personal life that was affecting why he was there and why he wasn't very sociable with the rest of the people. And also his reasons for wanting to protect them so hard. It was very subtly woven in to the character development within the story. See, this is Russell's plus point. Actual character development. Chibnall doesn't know how to do that properly. The reason why this Dr. Jericho came off as such a decently written character was because the person who wrote this particular episode was actually a decent writer, and the actor is a well-known British actor who's very talented, who did well with what he was given. So he really pulled that. I also want to give props to the actress who plays Claire. I think she did a very good job as well. Again, this is a testament to the side characters propping up the episode because the main characters cannot. Yaz and Dan just basically ran around doing absolutely nothing, while the side characters were basically telling the whole story, and the doctor was just running her mouth. Not really contributing very much other than, don't blink, don't blink, don't blink, don't let them near you. So they move from the basement to a secret tunnel that will hopefully lead them out of the house. And then they have angels coming at them from both sides. This is when Jericho gets blinked away. Claire manages to escape, but Jericho gets blinked back to 1901 with everybody else. And the doctor thinks she's about to get blinked. But when she looks at them and she turns away, they don't move. And she blinks at them and they don't move. And she can't quite understand why it is they're not after her. Now, before this, Claire does come clean with the doctor to tell her that I think something's wrong with me because there was stone dust coming out of my eye. I had a vision of myself sprouting wings. I think I'm becoming one of them. And then her hands start turning to stone. So the doctor goes into her mind to see what's going on there, and she comes to realize that when Claire had that vision of the angel and drew it as a picture, that vision stayed in her mind. And anything that has a vision has a picture of an angel can become one. So that angel stayed in her mind and has now attached itself to her. It's using her, I guess, as a conduit to relay a message to the doctor. Apparently now, the angels work for the division. The angels do the division's dirty work. Why? Like, they couldn't just be scary and intimidating on their own terms? You had to incorporate this timeless children crap? Some of the other reviews I heard, a lot of them, they said that it felt like this was a Weeping Angels episode written for something else, and Chibnall needed some sort of episode to put in there to attempt to move the plot along. So he threw this Weeping Angels episode in there and just added a whole bunch of division stuff to make it fit. I have to agree. It would have made a great Weeping Angels episode on its own because the scenes in the house were really well done. Even though I didn't like the whole increasing scale of the angel's powers, because I prefer them being kept simple. The tension was there, and it kept you wanting more. It kept you wanting to see what was going to happen. So they did do at least a good job with that. But adding the division stuff just kind of made it fall flat. So the doctor is interrogating this angel, and she comes to find out that the angel is a rogue from her own pack, and she wants to make a deal with the doctor. The other angels want to kill her because of her knowledge of division. She knows everything about the division, all their work, everything that they do, and she also knows everything about the doctor. So she promises that if the doctor protects her, that she will tell her these things that she wants to know. But the doctor wants her to leave Claire, to remove herself from Claire. But she's like, no, I'm staying right here because this is the only place I'm safe. But it turns out all this is a big, huge con. She was basically using Claire, and none of it was, well, what she said was true, but she was kind of drawing the doctor in because she knew that how much the doctor cares about humans, and that the doctor would not allow another human to suffer. So Jericho wakes them out of their telepathic trance because the angels have found them, and that's when they make their way into the tunnels. And Claire escapes, and Jericho gets transported back to 1901. The grandparents also get transported back to 1901, and apparently new rules popped up when it comes to the angels. If they've already touched you once, basically if they've already taken you out of time, they cannot touch you again. If they touch you again, they will kill you. Like literally, they will disintegrate you. When the grandparents popped up in 1901, they're like, what the hell's going on, blah, 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 and the angel was still there, and the grandfather, of course, is doing stupid shit, not realizing what's really going on, and basically being a moron, and the angel touches him again, and they both disintegrate, right in front of Yaz and Dan. Yeah. So the girl leads them onto this field, where there's a force field that separates 1901 from 1967. You can see on their side it's daytime, and in 1967 it's nighttime. So there's this old woman that's kind of been in and out of the episode the whole time. You don't know who she is at first. You just know that she knows about what's going on, and she's trying to convince the town that there's danger coming, but no one wants to believe her. It's not too much of a throw to figure out that this woman is actually Peggy. And that Peggy was stuck in 1901, or in the past, for a lot longer than she wanted to be. She was basically stuck. I don't think she ever left. She basically had to age normally, and then, yeah. So, Peggy sees her older self on the other side of that boundary. And you can't go through it or you're going to die. So then the doctor comes out the tunnel into the exact place where they're standing, and you can see her on one side, and Yaz and Dan and Jericho and all them on the other side. It's almost like the first time that she's even really considered, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot, Yaz and Dan, what the hell happened to you? Because the doctor just doesn't care. Doesn't care about her companions whatsoever. So they're stuck back there. The angels appear on the doctor's side, and they explain that the town has been quantum extracted, meaning taken out of time, twice. And that's what's supposed to happen to her, that she has been recalled to division. And she's like, what? The angel standing up on the perch is the angel that had attached itself to Claire, and Claire is standing there too. She got grabbed. Not blinked out, she just got grabbed, and the angel's basically speaking through Claire. The doctor tries to negotiate with the angel, but she says that the angels, the others, have made her a better offer. I suspect this offer came even before she and Claire had their little telepathic consort. I'm pretty sure that whole spiel she gave her was a setup to draw her in, basically. They have granted her freedom in exchange for, I mean, she thought they wanted her because of her knowledge, but she's given them something better, the doctor herself. So they granted her freedom in exchange for the doctor being recalled back to Division. And somehow, out of nowhere, I still don't know fucking how, because plot demands it, the angels recall her, and they turn her into a weeping angel. How? Don't know. Not a clue. And that leads into the previews for the 5th episode, The Survivors of the Flux. Yeah, this could have been a good episode. If I had to give it a rating, I would say probably a 5 out of 10. Same as last week, somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5. For the fact that the angels look cheap, the companions did absolutely nothing. The doctor was Jody, as usual. And the pacing was atrocious by inserting those scenes with Belle where they didn't need to be. They took what could have been a really good Angels episode and jammed it chock full of Division crap that didn't need to be there. It kind of ruined the whole thing. Did it feel like a Doctor Who episode for the first time? Yes. It kind of brought me back a little bit to the old days of the Angels when they were first a thing. But there was too much on the outside that kind of took me out of it and kind of ruined it. So I think it's probably one of the better episodes of Chibnall's run. Not perfect by any means, but better. Probably the best episode of this series so far. Good? I'm not saying that it's good or perfect, just the best so far, but that's not exactly giving it a high bar, because the other episodes haven't been that great. So, yeah, that is basically my review for Series 13, Episode 4. So, we will be back on Sunday for Series 13, Episode 5, Survivors of the Flux. Well, countdown mode. Countdown mode. 2 more episodes left and the special, and it's over, people. It's over. Once again, please do help me keep going, keep it on. Hit me up on social media. Links are in the description. And enjoy the videos that I have posted up there in the cards. Please do watch David's shows when they come out. Please, please, please give him support. He earns every bit of it. Not watching his movies and things is just a travesty of justice, because he's amazing in everything that he does. So please, please, please give him a watch, support his career, and just enjoy his amazing talent, because not watching is just terrible. Alright guys, I will see you in a couple of days' time. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Peace out.
Good night.